So today we're going to interview Viviana Macias at our specified site, which is Bruin Walk. Okay, so thank you for meeting with us. We appreciate your time and responses. So the purpose of our interview is to help our group learn the variables or circumstances of to who and why UCLA students choose to take flyers or not from people on Bruin Walk. The information we provide you is kept in strict confidence. There are no right or wrong answers to any of today's questions. We are interested on your insights, feelings, or perspectives on these questions. Okay, so the first question is I wondered, oh no, sorry. So to get started, I wondered if you could tell me a little bit about yourself. So maybe your year, your major, and if you live on or off campus, and your extracurricular activities.
Okay, so I'm a second year, hopefully psychology major, and Chicana studies minor. I'm living on campus, and I am a sister of Lambda Theta Alpha.
Okay, what time of day do you usually walk through Bruin Walk?
It's usually in the morning, 9 or 10, 'cause that's when I have classes, and then I don't walk back in the afternoon.
What days of the week would you say?
It's mainly Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay. Is there a particular path that you like to take to your classes?
I like to go around the side of campus because I don't really like going through Bruin Walk, but some of my classes are right next to Bruin Walk that I have to go, and if that's the case, I just go straight, and then I'll usually turn towards Jan Steps.
Okay. So from what you're telling me, you seem to have more negative experiences on Bruin Walk. Can you describe those experiences?
Yeah, it's not that it's super negative. I just don't like going towards Bruin Walk because of the flyers. I don't really like getting flyers, and then also it's just a lot of foot traffic, and I usually I want to get to class fast, but because everyone takes that path and there's so many people, you feel obligated to stop for the flyers, and I don't know, I just like to go to class unbothered, so I usually avoid taking Bruin Walk.
So, how would you describe the people passing out the flyers on Bruin Walk? Their body positions, or where do they stand, or how do they try to get your attention?
Some of them look very, I don't know how to describe it, but some of them you can tell they don't want to be there either. They're their body position is one foot's in front of the other, and it's they want to talk to you, but they're scared because they know you don't want their flyer, and then the other half is really jumping hey, take this flyer, which is it's too much energy, and that also makes me not want it, but yeah.
So can you tell us about other things like their voice volume, or what type of tone when they do approach you, do they use, or is there any type of persuasion, or in their language, anything specific that they use when they do approach you?
Some people are really positive, and they try to crack jokes in order to get you to take the flyer, and other people are really nervous and barely say anything. They're oh, here the flyer, and then when you say no thank you, they're oh, okay.
So how would you describe people who are on Bruin Walk but they're selling food items? What type of food do they usually sell, or can you describe I guess their advertisement of their of what they're selling?
A majority of people sell really simple foods. It's not anything that requires a lot of work. It'll be chips, or I see people selling little snacks. It's not something big because they need to keep the food hot and everything if it is. They usually just have a giant poster in front of their bench, and then they just let people come to them because Yeah, a lot of people would like just like to get the food.
Do you think their poster has like a main thing to do with like bringing in people?
No,
No,
not really. Like I think it's mainly organizations like they advertise on their own, and then also people like it's mainly people seeing the food because like let's say somebody's crowded around, like there's a crowd around a bench, people notice it and then that's when they look at the food, like since the poster is so low, like that's not really what catches people's eyes. It's like what's on top of the table, and like seeing if people are like holding the food and stuff like that.
So you're talking about like the organizations. So like you think the organizations have a lot to do with people coming up to them and
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why do you think people are more likely to come up to them based on their organization?
No, I don't think based on the organization. Like organizations, like they advertise on their own, like on social media and stuff. So they already have like if someone's gonna buy from them, it's because they already know about it. It's not necessarily because they just like randomly see it and they're like, oh, I want it. Like sometimes that does happen. Like if people are hungry and then they're passing through Broomwalk, like because they're either coming from class or like to class, so they're like quickly grab something.
Do you think the way that the people selling food try to get the audience or like the students' attention differently than the people who are like passing out flyers?
Mm, yeah, I think the people who are selling food, they're not like out like on Broomwalk, like they're not blocking any pathways, sort of like they're just chilling on their bench, and they're like, of course they're like, oh, like come buy food and stuff, and like people hear that and they'll be like, oh, okay, I'll go. But the people like on Broomwalk are like literally on like Broomwalk, and they're blocking the path for students. So like students will literally like go through the bike route in order to avoid getting flyers. And like I don't know, they're just like the people handing out flyers are more like, take this, while the other people on like who are selling stuff are just really laid back and let the students go to them.
So like you said, a lot of students try to avoid taking the flyers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what are some ways that students have like tried to avoid taking the flyers on Broomwalk? What have you seen?
Well, because I know, because my organization has tables before, people will like, I know a lot of people walk to Broomwalk with their sunglasses, and like they will like act like they don't see them, or they'll like put in their like headphones, and like they'll just straight up like ignore people and just like walk by, like, yeah.
Do you think like these methods are like effective?
Yeah, cause I do it too sometimes. Like if I don't want to take a flyer, I'll like just straight up like walk, and it's also like your face. Like if people can see like that you have a very serious face, like you don't want the flyer, they're not gonna go and try to give you a flyer. Um, but also sometimes like it doesn't work. So, you know, like there are those people on Broomwalk who are like, here, take this flyer, and very in your face. So usually I just say like no, thank you, and it's just because like it's mainly like, I don't want to say it's the same organizations, but it's very similar people who are always like flyering on Broomwalk. So you're kind of already aware of that, and like I don't like wasting paper. So in my head, I'm like, I don't want your flyer because I'm not gonna use it. So I'm not gonna waste your resources to like get your flyer. Sort of. I don't know if that.
So you said that you tabled on Broomwalk. Could you tell us like a little bit like of your experience of doing this?
Yeah, I noticed, like, kind of how I was saying before, that when you're standing directly on Broomwalk and saying, like, oh, like, come, like, listen or whatever, people don't really want your flyer, and that's because, like, you know, they're on their way to class, like, they're busy, like, a majority of students are always running late, and, like, they don't have time to stop and get your, like, flyer. So when students are going up Broomwalk, they, like, mainly they don't want your flyer because they're busy. But when they're coming back down from Broomwalk, they're more likely to stop and get your flyer, because that means they're either going to their apartment or they're coming back to the hill. So that means like they have time to get it. But it's also like when you're chilling on the benches, because my work when we table, we do have like a bench and stuff like that, or the tables. And like when we're chilling there, when we're standing near our table, like very close, and we just like smile, we're like, oh hey, like then people will come to us. And I feel like, I don't know, that approach, like when you're more laid back and not in people's face, makes them want to go to your table or get your flyer more than you being like, come take this.
Is there a specific audience or like individuals that you try to reel in, or like try to get the attention of like certain people?
Well, my organization, since we are like Greek but we're a sorority, we tend to tell like women, and our like motto is like land by tradition, not by definition. So we do like we mainly like look at like Latinas and stuff like that, but we do tell like other people too. Like it's not like, I know some sisters, like they feel more comfortable approaching a Latina because they're like, oh, they would want to come, because like not everyone would want to join a Latin organization if they're not like Latin. But we like basically go for any women.
Do you think like other organizations do the same thing? Do you think they have like a specific audience they want to get to?
Yeah, for sure. I know like the Asian Greeks, like when I'm walking down Broomwalk, they'll be giving a whole bunch of like girls in front of me the flyer, but they see me and they're like, no, because obviously I'm not Asian. But like when I pass the people who are in front of me, I look and I'm like, oh yeah, it was because they're Asian. So they like have their specific target audience, which are like Asian, and obviously like the fraternities, they go for like dudes.
So, around what type of age group are like the people who you try to stop, or you notice like other organizations like are trying to stop, like when they're on Bruin
I feel like a majority of people that get stopped are like people who look younger, because there are like older people who like attend university, but like if you look old, people are like, oh, you may be a professor, you may be a worker somewhere here on campus. Or if they look like old, like they came to college like at a like later age, I feel like people are not like prejudiced, but they're like, oh, I don't want like this old person in my organization and stuff like that. So I feel like when you're looking and people are advertising to join a club and stuff like that, it's mainly to the young people. But when it's like selling food and stuff like that, then it doesn't really matter, and they just go for anyone who would buy the food.
How do you think people distinguish like the age difference?
I don't know, honestly, just by like looking at their face.
Do you think like maybe their clothing has to do with anything?
No, because people have really different like clothing styles and stuff like that. Like some people like to dress like more modern or like more old style, and I know like the old styles are like really coming back, and like some people like to wear like long skirts with like socks and shoes, and like that's just the way people dress. So I think it's more like how their face is more of an indication of their age rather than their like clothing style, because people have like really different ones.
Okay, so going back to when you're walking up Bruinwalk,
Mm-hmm.
are the people that, or have you noticed like any specific type of people that stop you when you're going up and down Bruinwalk? Like, is there like, are males more likely to stop you, or are females more likely to stop you?
I don't really get stopped on Broomwalk that much, just because I don't let myself get stopped. I'm like, no, thank you, I don't have time, and I keep walking. But when like I noticed that the like males are more likely to like not follow you, but kind of like walk with you and try to convince you to get the flyer than like females are. Females are usually like, oh, like, hey, take this flyer, and you're like, oh, okay, and like you're like, no, thank you, and they're like, oh, okay, have a nice day. and they just like wait for the next person to pass them. But I noticed the males would be like, no, like you really want this flyer, and you're like, no, I still don't want that flyer, thank you.
Why do you think guys are more like that?
I don't really know. No. But that's just something I've noticed, that like males are more likely to, and I noticed that they're also more like, from the ones I've seen, they like to do tricks in order to like stop you. Like I noticed there's always this one dude who likes to like skate up and down Bruin Walk and like do these tricks in order to like get you to this flyer, or they'll like play games and be like, they'll like do like freeze tag and then be like, oh, like I can't move unless you take this flyer and stuff like that.
From the students that, like when you're walking up and down Brian Walk, what type of students do you tend to stop, like see stop more? Like, do girl students stop more or do boy students stop more?
Like stop to get flyers.
Yeah, I like
or...
to stop to get flyers.
I don't notice anyone stopping to get flyers. Like I feel like people take them in passing. Like I think it's a pretty even ratio between like males and females getting it. Like they'll just like, but I think it's out of courtesy. Like it's not genuinely because people want to get the flyers, but they're just like, oh, okay, thank you. Like I hardly notice people actually stop to get a flyer. But when organizations are tabling, I notice that like people will go to their table and look at their flyers and get it. But when it's like just people flyering out themselves, like in the middle of Bruin Walk, it's just people taking the flyer and passing.
How hard do you think it is trying to get people's attention? Or not necessarily their attention, but like trying to get them to stop and actually listen to you?
It is. It's really hard because, like I was saying, like students are in a rush. They like don't have time to stop and get your flyer. A lot of people don't want your flyer because, like I said, like it's usually the same type of organizations tabling, so it's not anything like. I think like after like the first couple of weeks, especially after the activities fair, nobody really cares about joining clubs anymore because they already have. So like when people orgs are like tabling, they're like, oh, I already know about this. Like it doesn't really matter, so they don't really want the flyer. And can you repeat the question again? I just forgot the second half.
How hard do you think it is trying to like get people to stop?
Oh yeah, like I was mentioning, it's really hard. Like people don't want to stop. They don't have time. Also, I don't know how it is for like other organizations, but I feel for Greek organizations especially, people don't want to stop because there's this like stigmatism towards Greeks. So where you, like, I notice like for us, like we can't be like, oh hey, do you want to join a sorority? Because people are like, oh no, like they don't want to. So when we table, we have to phrase it differently. When we'll be like, oh, are you interested in community service? And then people will sometimes be like, oh yeah, and then we tell them about our organization, and like when we tell them all the like aspects of it, like all our community service, how we give back, like I don't know, all of our events, and like because we're an academic sorority, so we tell them all of that before telling them like, oh yeah, we're a sorority, because then people are like, they automatically like they have these like ideas about like Greek life, and they're like, oh no, I don't want to be a part of it, and they'll just like pass you by. So it's like you have to be very careful about how you phrase things, because then people, you just say like one thing, and then people are like, oh no, and they'll just like walk away and they won't want your flyer.
Okay, so now that you're talking about phrasing, how have you noticed other organizations phrase their like, advertisements or?
I notice a lot of people use the like, oh, do you want to do community service? Or they'll be like, do you want a chance to help people? And like, do you want to like, 'cause you know they do trips to like down to Mexico, and like different orgs, like they mainly like advertise if they want people to like get their flyer by like telling them the good of it first. Like they don't necessarily introduce their organization. They're not like, oh, do you want to join like Brew and Hope or whatever. They tell them like, oh, are you interested in this? And then after if the student like stops to get the flyer, they're like, then they tell them about the organization. Like they have to say something that's like that would appeal to like a majority of audiences in order to get them to stop.
Um, so you've mentioned people using headphones. Do you think it's harder to stop people with headphones, or do you think it's the same?
Oh no, I think it's like harder to stop people with headphones, and I think a majority of people flying know not to stop people with headphones because those people have their headphones in for a reason, and it's because they don't want to stop. They don't want to like talk or like get your flyer and stuff like that. I feel like it's kind of like an unspoken like understanding that like I'm putting my headphones in, like the world's out, like don't talk to me sort of thing. So I feel like when people are flying, they tend to go towards people who aren't like wearing headphones, like that people that are like walking and or like especially people in groups because like they're like, oh, this is a big group, like maybe they'll like be nice because no one's gonna like not be like, you know how some people are like, oh, like no thanks, I don't want your flyer, like they're not rude about it, but they're just like, oh, like no thank you, they're very like serious and like because they want to leave. Like people won't be as like, oh no thank you, I don't want your flyer when their friends around because they don't want to like look mean to their friend. So I feel like approaching people who are like don't have their headphones or like maybe in like a small group is like easier.
So, when you're like walking up and down Bruin Rock, or like, and you see like people firing, what types of reactions do you see that students give when like they agree or disagree, like when taking a flyer, like what people are firing about?
What do you mean agree or disagree?
So like when people actually stop and take the flyer, like what kind of like reaction do the people giving out flyers have on their face? And if they don't stop for the flyer, like what kind of reaction is on their face?
Oh, I think people are like surprised and happy when people take their flyers. They're like, oh wow, like they actually took it. Because I know when people take our flyers, like if I'm flying and somebody actually takes it, I'm like, ah, because like not many people want to take your flyer, so it's like they're very like happy and like kind of surprised, like, oh, okay. But when people don't take your flyer, people have like a little like sad face, like, ah, but they get over it like really fast because they know that they can't have like this little like sad face on because they're still like the rest of the people on Broomwalk who they're trying to make them like take their flyer.
And like for the students who are walking up and down Bruin Walk, like what are their reactions like when they either want to get the flyer or when they don't want to get the flyer?
I feel like if you want to get the flyer, people make the effort. So like if they're listening to the music, like they'll take off one earbud or like they'll walk towards the person flyering. But if you don't want the flyer, like you'll keep your headphones in. If you have sunglasses, you'll leave them on, and like you'll just like keep walking, like because people like to like go walk a little bit closer to you, like because they're standing off on the side and they'll like push a little bit forward to like try and get you to go to the flyer, to get the flyer. But like if you don't want it, you'll just like sidestep them and keep walking.
What do you think is a possible motive for someone to like actually stop and get a flyer?
Just being genuinely like interested in what the people are trying to flyer and stuff like that.
Do you think it has to do with how they try to get their attention?
I think that definitely like has an influence. Like if someone's like you know people are doing tricks and stuff like that that may interest you into approaching the person and maybe taking their flyer. But
What about like their personality or like
how does their personality?
yeah, like the individual, like the student who's walking up or down Bruin Walk, like does their personality have to do anything with it?
With taking the flyer?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like if people are like very like not I don't want to say shy, but they're very like concerned with being nice or like appearing nice, they're more likely to take the flyer because they're like, oh, I feel bad, and they'll take it. But other people who are like, I don't know how to describe other people because I know I'm one of those other people. I'm just like, oh, like I'm sorry, I don't want your flyer, like I won't take it.
Do you feel like you're targeted by any certain organizations on Bruin Walk?
Not really. I feel like um, the organizations that are in front of Bruin Walk, they they don't necessarily want people to join their organization, but they want people to support it. Like it's always like people selling donuts or like people being like, oh, come out to this show that we're having or something like that. Like they want people to support it, while the organizations in the back are usually like selling food or trying to get people to join their organization.
So what kind of other programs do you usually see on Bruin Walk?
Mm, you mean aside from like fundraisers and flyering?
Yeah, just like they can be flyering or fundraisers, but like besides, like I know you mentioned, you're part of like a Greek organization, but like, do you see any other organizations that are flyering? Like examples of other ones that you see?
I don't remember their names, but it's usually I know like other like
Okay.
oh wait, I forgot. There's a lot of like Christian groups too. They'll like hand out Bibles and stuff.
Have you seen like those people with the microphones, like talking about like religion and stuff?
Yes.
What would you say about that? Like, can you describe about it? Like, what they do?
They basically just talk crap, like trash about other people, and try to like tell other people that like the way that they're thinking is wrong. They're basically like just yelling at people. Like I've never seen like those people with the microphones like actually like try and be nice, and like they're not like telling them like about their religion or their way of thinking. They're like telling other people how bad they are because they don't think or believe in the same things that they do.
I know you mentioned like small groups and like groups in general. Do you think they stop like tourist groups?
Tourist groups?
Yeah,
like
people fly like people in general flying. Do you think they stop
No.
tourist groups? No.
No, because like those people are a tourist group for a reason, whether they're visiting the school or like they're like maybe like during Bruin Day when like potential Bruins are coming, then they'll like try and stop them. So like when they come to UCLA, they like remember like, oh, this like organization that gave me a flyer and stuff like that. They're more likely to remember. But I don't feel like people flying like waste their resources on tourist groups because they're like they don't come here. It doesn't really matter. Like what they want is to get students to join their organizations or support their organizations because they're actually like on campus. Like it doesn't matter if you get this tourist from like Oklahoma who just came to like see the school and stuff like that. Like they're not gonna come here, but they're just like in the area. They always wanted to see UCLA, so they come and get a tour. Like if they support you or they would like love to join your organization, it doesn't matter because they're not a student and they're not here.
Do you think organizations flying are more likely to stop like in the individual or like groups of people?
What?
Like, are the groups flying more likely to stop like one person or small groups?
I feel like they'll do like both. Like they'll stop one person if they're not like wearing their headphones or anything, and they'll also stop like little groups. Like if it's like 1 or 2, 3 people walking to class, they'll like stop them. But if it's like a giant group of people walking, they won't, because I feel like that's also like, I don't want to say embarrassing, but for the person flying, they're kind of like nervous because they're like, what if this like giant group of people don't want my flyer? So.
And have you seen like more people flying during passing period or less people flying?
I feel like people are just always flying, like in general. Like it usually starts like at 9 a.m. and stuff like that. Like people are like there in Bruin Walk, and they're just like there until like their end of their shift, or like if that's like 2 or 3 or whatever. like people are there flyering, but I feel like they actually get like people to take their flyers during like the little like passing periods, like around like 50 to the next, or like 50 and on. So like if your class starts at 9, ends at 9:50, like that's where they get people because they're like walking, and like they also get people around like 12 o'clock, like when people are taking their lunch.
Okay. Thank you for um, thank you for
taking the time to do this interview with us. We appreciate it, and just like a reminder that everything that you said is gonna be like strictly like confidential, and it's not gonna like be used in any